G'day, mate.
Hey, dog.
How's it going?
Or, putting a shrimp on the barbie, you know why?
Why?
It's classic movie banter. How great is free stuff?
Free stuff is pretty bloody great.
It's so good. I don't know about you, but recently I've been getting a lot of free stuff recently.
Recently?
Like this morning I was walking to work and I was just on Pitt Street, just walking along the city, and there's just this huge tub, like a meter high, with two millennials standing next to it, just handing out free yogurt.
Frozen yogurt?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
It was so good. And I'm like, it was like 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, who wants froyo this early? But they were doing it. And it was so good. I think the best experience I've had with free food, which I know is your best experience too, is what we had tonight before we recorded this episode.
Let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, what a night Nathan and I have just had.
Oh my goodness.
It was extravagantly awesome.
It was just... this is the greatest night of my life, to be honest with you, audience. So we're catching the bus to, my home, and Brenton and I are like, oh, let's get burgers on Uber Eats, before we start the podcast, have a cheeky feed. And I order it on Uber Eats, and it's half an hour away, so, we're just on the bus going, having chats. And then I get this phone call, not too long afterwards from, this guy who works at this restaurant called Burgers Anonymous. And he's like, oh, hey, out your burgers. We've made them, but all the Uber drivers, they're not available tonight because, it's rainy and it's terrible and no one's available. So I'm like, okay. And he says, tell you what, do you still want burgers tonight? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, are you happy coming here to pick up the burgers? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, okay, tell you what, you come over and we'll give you for free 2 burgers. And I'm like, holy shit, yes. And so I'm like, Brenton, you want to come? And you're like...
Hell to the yes, Nathan. Yes, I would love to come.
So we walk across Balmain to this restaurant, and Balmain's going off. It's a good night, everyone's just at pubs, everything's great. And we rock up to this burger store, and and we sit down, and the guy's like, oh yeah, let me get your burgers. And he walks away and he comes back and he's like, you didn't want sauce in them? I'm like, yeah, no. And he's like, oh, we accidentally put sauce in them. Let me make you another 2 burgers. And we're like, okay. And so he's like, so he comes back and he walks out and there are 4 burgers. And he's like, do you want the other 2 as well? And Brenton, we're like,
hell yes.
And boy, did we take them. So we got 4 free burgers from this burger place for walking 10-15 minutes to either way, and they are the best burgers I've ever had in my life.
These burgers were incredible. They were simply incredible. They were chicken burgers, fried chicken, but it was moist chicken. They got it perfect. And we ate these burgers walking on the way back to do the show tonight.
It was free food.
Free food.
Oh my
free
gosh.
feed.
I still feel amazing after it. I haven't felt happiness like this.
I feel incredibly elated, let me tell you. And it's not only the fact that the burgers were good, but the burgers were goddamn free.
Oh my god, when you get food, when you get anything for free, I swear it does make it better. You know what I mean? You don't work for it.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
yes.
like hugs. When people just hug you, that's a nice thing.
It is a nice thing.
You know what I mean?
Or when I was younger, I have a distinct memory of going to a hairdresser to get my hair cut.
Yeah.
And a gentleman came in while I was in the, waiting for the barber, waiting in the waiting seat.
Yeah.
And let's say this... He probably looked like late 20s, early 30s, comes up to me, little 12-year-old Brenton, and says... and starts telling me about his relationship with God. And I said, oh, okay.
Hello, son. I am Mr. Priest, and I'm here to tell you about God.
He was a lot friendlier than that, Nathan.
Oh,
he was very
nice pastor,
a little too nice.
Oh.
A little too nice for a 12.
Or you just gotta believe in God,
a little too nice for 12-year-old Brenton to it was making me a little uncomfortable.
Oh, okay.
But he said, you know what, Brenton? I think you could have the same he didn't know my name. You know what, little man? You could have the same relationship that I have with God. And I'll go get you something and show you how. So he left me there, and I was feeling very uncomfortable, and I was being like, hurry up, hairdresser, so I can get up and get my hair cut and get the hell out of here.
Cut for your life, man.
And so, yeah, he comes back with this little pocket Bible, and he gave it to me for free on the account that I read it, which I didn't read that Bible.
Wow.
I still have it though at my house.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it's like this little leather Bible. Yeah.
Oh, see, that's cute though. That's sweet. Like, you know, it was like genuine. Like, you just do a nice thing. Like, he just gave it to you. Like, whenever I get free food, or like, I remember I was at college once, and you know, like those Red Bull vans.
Oh, I do know those vans.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was walking along like one of the footy fields with my mate Dylan, and like it was literally like a scene just from a movie where like this Red Bull like mini car just like pulled over on the side of the road. These two amazingly beautiful women, just like in their early 20s, just jumped out of the car, and just like opened up the boot and like, hey boys, and they like pulled like two. It was like a Duff beer ad. It was just
Duff man,
Duff man,
Duff man,
beer today. And it was like, and they're like, hey, you want some Red Bull? And we're like, yeah. Like, I don't even like Red Bull, but I'm like, I'll have your Red Bull. So we took the cans, and she's like, do you want some Red Bull for your friends? And we're like, yeah. And like, here you go. And they just like gave us like a whole box of it, and they're like, make sure you tell your friends about us. I'm like, okay. And we walk back just a little later, just like, oh my gosh, like this.
How old were you at this stage?
I would be my first year of uni. I would be like 18.
Okay.
I would have been like that bad age where you're just like just in love with like everything. You're just.
Yeah, I mean, free stuff when it's handed to you
man.
with some customer service as well is always nice. Like when someone's really happy to be giving you the free stuff, it's not like you've made like a huge complaint and you've made a huge deal about something, so they have to give you something for free.
Yeah.
There's a difference.
Oh, I got a nightmare story about that. I remember I was
Go for it.
I was at a restaurant. I was at an Italian restaurant on the Gold Coast, and it was Mum's birthday. And we went out for a feed, and like generally is that scenario like everyone got fed except for me. And like I remember I was like 15 or something like that, and I had to wait like genuinely an hour.
Oh,
like everyone on the table like finished their meals. Like dessert came out, they all finished their dessert. The adults had their alcohol. Like it was like that late, and I was still waiting. And like during this process, where all this was happening, I just got hungrier and hungrier and hungrier. And like this waiter staff like kept coming out. I'm so sorry, there's just like a problem. And so I'm like shut up. I just want.
Do
my
you
food.
remember what the meal was? Sorry.
I don't even remember. It was just.
Was it a pasta dish? Was it a?
You know what? It was a very easy meal. I remember that. It was something. It was like bolognese or something like that. It was like a very easy, simple thing to make. But for some forsaken reason, like it was just they didn't serve me.
You know, it's funny with restaurants and food that, you know, it's always, I always think when I sit down as well, that I always go, this is something that's really simple to make. But then I think if I was in that environment as like a head chef or, you know, a professional cook in a restaurant environment, I'd be flailing all over the fucking place. You know what I mean? It's like spaghetti what? So, oh.
It's true. Chefs are like, you know, they're neck level. Like you work in hospitality, right?
Yeah, of course. Respect for chefs all the way.
My God.
That's the one profession I could never in a million years see myself doing. Yo,
I would rather be like conscripted like into the military, like on the front lines, than have to like just be cursed to be like a chef, just in the back of like, you know, a hardworking restaurant, just 14-hour days, just non-stop, just, you know, Gordon Ramsay thing. I couldn't do it.
Respect for Gordon Ramsay, though.
Yeah, respect for chefs. Like, if you're a chef, like, listening to the show, like, write in. Like,
good on you.
Like, let's know how you do it. What's your advice? Like, how do you do? Like, how? Like, I think I know the answer. Like, have you ever met a chef who hasn't smoked?
No, I've never met a chef that's never smoked. Yeah,
that's the thing. Like, I remember I was in Switzerland and I was working at a summer camp there, and I got to work in the kitchens a little bit. And one of the chefs there, like, he was just like really angry British dude, and he was just like swearing. He was like the Gordon Ramsay, and like I remember like every time, and he wasn't like particularly that bright, but I remember like every time he would lose an argument, he would just like walk out of the kitchens and just like have a dart, just to get away from it all. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's that stress relief, because it's such a high pressure environment and situation and, you know, job. So kudos to them, and kudos to the chefs at Burgers Anonymous for providing us with such free delicacies tonight.
4 free burgers tonight. Like Like, well done. Burgers Anonymous. And you know what? Some of the best burgers I've ever had.
You can't see us, but we are applauding here in the Classic Movie Banter studio.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Burgers Anonymous. Hats off to you. Go check them out. They're great.
If you're in Sydney and you're looking for a good burger place, like, go to Burgers Anonymous. Like, it's in Balmain. It's so good. I'm sure Uber will want to work when you use it, so you can actually get it delivered, but go for it.
Go for it.
Yeah. So, welcome.
Welcome to Classic Movie Banter. Hey! Episode number 7.
Number of Horcruxes. Number of continents. Number of episodes.
The 7th is the day of the month that I was born.
Nice.
Yes.
Good stuff. I was born on a Friday.
Oh.
Yeah, good day Friday.
Oh.
I was born at a really convenient time, actually, because, like, I was, like, Mum had just finished dinner, and then, bam, I was like, hey, I'm ready to be alive now. And
you are a very convenient child, Nathan. Well done.
That's what's going to say on the gravestone, mate. And, like, and, yeah, she just went to the hospital. It just came out, like, 1 in the morning. She's exhausted, had a good nap after, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But welcome to the episode. Episode number 7.
Podcast. Hope you guys have been having a good week.
Oh, I've been having a great week, personally.
Oh, yeah.
Capped off by tonight, free burgers. But yeah, I do hope our listeners have had a fantastic week. Yeah. We are doing something a bit different this week, but not too different. Our little intro today was a bit of a hint as to what's happening this week with an Australian... Will we call this a classic or just an Australian film?
Yeah.
We'll call this...
I've been pushing for a while for us to do an Australian film. I hope we do them now and then, because, like, Australian cinema is very enjoyable to discuss.
We need to be in touch with our roots, Nathan.
We really do. Our roots. And you could not get more in roots than this week's film, Emerald City. Emerald
City. We're not talking about the Emerald City in Oz, as in the land of Oz. We're talking about the Emerald City in Australia.
Which, have a guess. We know the answer.
Well, we know the answer, and there's, so let's get into it.
It's Sydney.
Nathan.
Yeah?
Pitch me this film.
Okay, so, Brenton, Emerald City. So, do you know the classic rivalry that exists between Sydney and Melbourne?
I do know of that.
Sydney and Melbourne. It's, by the way, American viewers, it's Melbourne, not Melbourne.
Melbourne.
We're going to Melbourne this winter, and we're going to hunt some chicken.
No, it's Melbourne.
It's Melbourne. Okay, so pitch movie. Okay, so Brenton, a family from Melbourne, where the husband is a screenwriter and the wife works as a publisher in the literary world, have moved to Sydney out of their Melbourne home, and they're both going into new opportunities for their jobs, and hilarity ensues. It's a story about a man, a woman, Nicole Kidman, an old guy, an old woman, kids that aren't really in it that much, and a whole lot of Aussie slang. That's Emerald City. Hailed as one of the great Australian classics, one of the great Australian comedies, this is Emerald City. Coming soon, thank God, never near you.
So, I feel like you're giving off a vibe of that you may have a negative association with this film, Nathan.
See, I'm hinting at it, but no, not really. Like,
this film is a mixed bag.
It really is the definition of a mixed bag.
But it's a party mix. It's like it's an Allen's party mix. And let's say that you really like the banana lollies.
Yeah.
There's only 2 of them in the packet, so it's a mixed bag. But the highs,
but boy, when
there's
you get
not
that
many.
banana, you're on cloud 9. You know.
Oh, I wouldn't even say I get to cloud 9 from the banana in this film.
Cloud 1 at the moment.
Yeah. I'd say there's some highs, but they're not the highest of the highs, and I'd say there's few of them. There's not many of them. Yeah, so I'd say it's interesting because the development of this film is that it was actually originally a stage play, an Australian stage play by David Williamson, who also wrote the great Australian David Williamson, who also wrote the screenplay. I believe it's the same script essentially.
Screenplay.
Yes, that. So I don't know if he wrote the screenplay. I'm not sure, or whether it's just literally the script from the play.
He wrote it.
He did write it for screen. Yeah. Okay. Well. Yes. So And it
isn't that very meta, by the way?
The reason I bring that up is that it feels like a piece of theatre,
doesn't it? Though?
That has not transitioned that well to the screen.
No, so like this movie's about like so you follow the screenwriter, this dad of this family who just like who
Colin, I believe his name
Colin is his
yes,
name, yeah, and he's he wants to write a new story, and he's come to Sydney to try and pitch it to various producers. And it's not going too well for him. He's lacking in the material to put the story together, and so he befriends this dude. What's his name?
Mike.
That's it. This terrible human Mike, who's just a worm in every sense of the word. And together they get up to some shenanigans and
produce some work.
Yeah, I find it really hard to actually explain the narrative of this film because it's not confusing. The plot itself isn't confusing.
If you sat down and you read this thing, you wouldn't find it confusing. But the way, and unfortunately, it's that thing again that this story isn't being told well on using the film medium. Let's say,
yeah,
it's
the film medium.
Yeah, it's a stage play, and you can sense it's a stage play from the horrible narration that is in this film.
Oh yeah,
the horrid narration and the lack.
God, it's so bad.
Yeah, and the lack of visual storytelling of things that like this film just tells you everything.
Literally.
It's a great script. Don't get me wrong, but I want to go to the theater and see it. You know what I mean? Yeah. I can tell this is written for the stage.
Yeah, there's some good lines in the movie. I'll give it that, but this film is just, you know what? I reckon it's definitely more negative than positive because the weird, you can hear their thoughts randomly. It's so out of place. It's not like it's so bad.
I say these characters' names, like I've said Colin and Mike, and that's because I've researched, obviously, the character names before we...
these fuckers, like, they're just...
No, I don't. Like, I kind of remember aspects of their character, I guess.
Yeah.
But in the I didn't really care about them.
Oh, God,
it's ironic, I thought.
I don't care about anyone in this movie. Even like... Let's dive straight into the cast. I want to talk about Nicole Kidman. So the one star that emerged from this movie is a, like, early 20s... Nicole Kidman, who is just in this movie to be the girlfriend of the bad guy, and she's just there as like a sex object, and this film was like very like pervy, like really really pervy.
Yeah, I'd say this film's tone is all over the place.
It is.
It starts off and you think it's going to be a family fun film because we start off with some kids and we're moving montage, moving from a city to another city. There's some funny lines in there. There's some fun family banter and antics that happen in that moment. And then the next thing you know, we're having this horrible inner monologue from Mike about how he has sex with Helen, who's Nicole Kidman's character, who is, a number of years younger than Mike. And it's just, at that point, like, it was just out of left field, out of nowhere, and it was confusing and awkward.
Like, who is this movie for?
I don't know.
Like, I don't know either. Like, it's held as one of the greatest showing comedies, and like, I was laughing in this film for certain, but I wasn't laughing because of the jokes.
I didn't chuckle once.
No, like, wow.
And not to say I was deadpan, like I understood when the film was telling me that there was a...
This is funny.
I understood when the film was telling me there was a joke.
Yeah.
And some of the lines, the way the line is written, that's funny, like, I guess, like, but it was more like I admired that. I was like, oh, that's meant to be funny, and it is. I felt like a robot watching this movie. I felt like, again, that it was telling me everything that I needed to feel, that I needed to think. And it's because, unfortunately, the script itself just needed to have a few pages torn out, and just have some moments of character interaction that, one, weren't going at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and two, let us in to their world and what they were feeling personally about something, as opposed to them just telling you.
Yeah.
In the deadpan Australian Aussie slang, I guess, or
and that's
dialect.
The thing, I feel like a lot of this film's selling point is that in how Australian it is. Like, there's like all these shots of Sydney and you're panning about and he's the dad, doing painting the house and he's a hard bloke and you know, and the woman, you know, she's a Sheila who drinks a lot, and they go to all these functions. Like, I don't know, like, it's very shown, but like, you strip that away. It's like by saying criticism for Animal House. It's like, once you strip away all the tropes of like the era, like, what do you have left? And it's a kind of nothing story.
A story that has a pretty obvious theme, that it's ramming constantly down your throat.
Yeah.
In the way it juxtaposes its, you know, its two characters, I guess, the two male characters in this film. I liked Robin Nevins' character in this movie, Colin's wife, Kate. I liked her.
She had an interesting story. I liked it was random though how she was trying to get that Indigenous author's story. Like,
but again, I think it's more. I liked the actress in the role
she was
more,
very good in that,
more so than I actually liked, because the character was very inconsistent.
Oh yeah,
and
usually.
Don't get me wrong, like, we as human beings are hypocritical by nature. Like, we grow.
This is therapy, Brenton.
Well, we grow, we change over time. Like, our opinions change, like, from one week to the next, which is a topic that happens in this movie. Yeah. Some characters, their thoughts and feelings change, and political views change drastically over the course of, you know, days in this film.
Oh, yeah.
But with that character in particular, it was never really earned. It was just more... I like this actress, but this role isn't really adding anything to this film. Yeah,
it really isn't. Like, I don't know. I was just watching it, just going like, why am I watching this?
Were you bored? I mean? Out of interest, were you bored?
A little bit, yeah. Like, I found it interesting because like you and me currently live in Sydney. So I found it fascinating as someone who's a local, like just like seeing what Sydney looked like in 1988. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the skyline obviously looks different. Like Circular Quay, it's just random like docks. You know what I mean? It's like what they have today. Like they just like hop off like a little red boat and they're just like next to the Opera House.
I feel like that wouldn't have even happened back in the 80s though. I feel like that's very much like they're filming a movie and oh, look at this boat come into the Sydney harbour and they just hop off. Like back then that wouldn't have happened either. Like it's taking liberties, I guess, in that sense.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, showing the city up for like the lavish, which is I guess the point. Like, because it's kind of a...
But even when they mention like, oh, there's a monorail in Sydney, I'm like, not anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that line was said and I was like, no, there's not. What you talking about, little girl?
What you talking about?
I don't even know that character's name. Again, like...
That's the thing. The children are so like, you could cut them out. Like,
yes.
Why do they even have children in this movie?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure why this film was made. Yeah.
Yeah. I know. Why did they adapt this play? I mean, adapt this play. Like,
I mean, like, I feel like the play itself, I feel like if I saw this script on stage and it was directed well and whatnot, it could be a great production. I don't know. I don't know.
It's like...
But it's the fact that they didn't make any changes, when adapting this piece to the big screen. So they add some, like, I guess some landscape shots of the city, but the camera work in this film is fucking terrible. Like, it's
so bad.
Awful. Like,
it's so bad.
Let's talk about static camera work.
Oh my God.
Fuck my life. Especially when you compare to other films that are coming out in the 80s, let's say in the United States, just things that you've seen and the way they move the camera.
It's just like the aerial shots of Sydney. Like, what are you doing? Like the shots in the office. Like, I'm just like, I just don't care about any of it. It just doesn't like have any authorship to it. And I'm like, what are you doing? It's just, I don't know. And like, you know what? I can see elements of the story of like why they wanted to tell it. Like the writer is constantly struggling with like the fact that American stories are overtaking Australian stories. That's interesting. That I really like that. Same thing with when the Indigenous narrative is being adapted into American. That's interesting because that stuff happens, and like I'm interested. A film talking about that kind of stuff like is interesting,
and it represents both sides of that that situation. Yeah,
of course.
Which I agree was really interesting, but it never really poses the question all that well.
No,
I'd say, and it never. Not that it needs to provide an answer. It never gives any sort of. Yeah, it never explores that question to the fullest it could to make it an interesting theme, you know, let's say in the film. But I don't know if I was bored in this movie because, like I was saying, I kind of hinted at before, the film moves at such a fast pace, and these characters are so quick-witted that they're just spitting their dialogue out at this incredibly fast rate that it's all coming at you, and all these quips are leading, these lines are leading into the others. It feels like I'm watching a piece of Australian theatre at the theatre, in terms of the acting style and whatnot. But on film, that doesn't translate. And it was ironic that, this was a film kind of about the film industry, and it criticized certain parts of the way scripts are brought to the big screen, and the way that producers and directors take creative license with a work. And I thought that was ironic, because this film doesn't do anything with its creative license. No. It doesn't really tell its story all that well. Yeah.
No, and I don't know. I feel like it just isn't so the reason they're talking that fast is because the director said he wanted it to have that same pace that the stage has. So but they all talk unnaturally too fast. Every single line is so quickly delivered. You're like, are we in a rush to get out of here? What's the point of this? I feel like the film just doesn't breathe. And it's so weird because the old lady producer, she doesn't talk fast. She talks normally, but and it's so jarring when she does, because you're like, oh yeah, that's how normal people talk. And of course they're all Australian as well. They all talk like this, and they're like, oh bloody hell, I can't believe it. And it's just painful at points. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's not I don't love hearing the Australian accent in film. I adore hearing the Australian accent in film. It feels like I'm listening to people who sound like me.
I think they had some interesting dialects in the film. For instance, the main Kate and Colin are both from Melbourne, so they both have that Melbourne dialect that's a bit more ochre.
Yeah.
Let's say. But then it's never really juxtaposed to anyone apart from Elaine, who is the producer.
Yeah, exactly.
Who is very well spoken Australian, and probably would be more what a Sydney sider sounds like.
Yeah.
So it's. I just feel like all that dialogue that's coming out very fast is saying all this it's using a lot of metaphors and a lot of, very interesting, it's pointing out very interesting things, and, there's a lot of great lines in there, but we're just moving through it at such a quick pace, and with no shots that I feel really allow you to capture let's say the character's psychology in those moments when they're saying, because obviously these people are writers, they're producers, they're in the film industry, their minds are probably moving pretty quick, so it makes sense for them to be quick talkers and quick thinkers.
Oh, of course.
But you have to let us in on that so we can see how kind of that thought process works, so you can kind of relate to these people. Yeah.
So I don't know, I'm just trying to think
Awful soundtrack.
Oh my god.
Awful.
Oh my god, the soundtrack. Holy shit.
Soundtrack.
Oh my god. Who made that decision? It's like
shit.
Actually, you know what? The best part of this movie is the soundtrack, because there's some really dark stuff that happens in this film, some messed up stuff, and it's like do 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 do, and it's all this jolly music. This is not a spoiler. You can not spoil this film. There's a scene where they're on a film set, and one of the guys almost drowns an actor on the set, and he's holding his head underwater, and the guy's like, and he's about to die, and people run and dude, what are you doing? And he pulls his hand away, and the guy comes up and breathes for air, and dude, you gotta get out of this set. You're messed up. And the guy walks off, and the guy who was drowning was and it's and it just jump cuts to
I swear to God, in that scene too, there was music it was light music playing in the background while he was being drowned too. So if you'd like to, let's do a bit of role play. You're making the you're drowning.
Okay.
It's the Emerald City.
It's literally that.
And it's trying to make a joke, it's trying to be funny, but it's that music is just so jarring is my issue. It's just it's so,
the scene where there's a very sexy scene, but inappropriately sexy scene, when that happens near the end of the film, and it ends tumultuously, and then that jump cuts to it's just who edited this? I feel and you know what? It's so ironic, because this film, the whole point of this film is to complain about how Australian movies aren't made and how Australian stories aren't made. And here we are, finally watching an Australian one, and you're just tripping at every hurdle. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. I feel like in terms of the editing, like the hard cuts sometimes add to the comedy. I like some of the scenes. One of my positives, I guess, is that some of the scenes they end kind of halfway through the natural conclusion of the scene. Conclusion of the scene. So you kind of have these. Every scene is kind of like half a moment, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so like it'll get to the joke and then it'll cut to something else. And sometimes that's jarring, and sometimes it kind of works. I guess I can see what they're going for. Then other times it's just like, fuck me. Like, what was the point of that scene then? Was it that joke or why? Why?
Why, Papa? Why must I watch Emerald City?
Because you must. Because it's your Australian roots, Nathan.
Papa, I want to watch a good Australian film, like Happy Feet.
No, Nathan. No, don't listen to Robin Williams. Don't listen to him.
Papa, in this movie, there's a sex scene.
What?
Papa.
There is? There is? I need to watch it again. My God. Is there a sex scene in this? Oh, there is.
I forgot.
On that note, let's get to the spoiler section.
Wait,
because
okay. Let's just rate this movie. So,
I feel like we'll rate it before. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nathan, is this movie worth your time?
Don't watch it. Don't never watch this film. There are so many better. If you want to watch an Australian film, there's like 50 that you could watch over this. Like, no. Brenton?
I'm with you, Nathan.
Yes!
I'm with you. I'd say this is not worth your time.
Don't watch this
In fact,
movie.
it's a total waste of time, unfortunately.
Yeah,
it
really is.
You know what?
You're gonna gain nothing from it.
If Emerald City is in a theatre near you, go see the stage show. You'd probably enjoy it more.
You probably would. Honestly, if you want to see like a young Nicole Kidman, like really young Nicole Kidman, like, yeah, watch this. Like,
really?
Watch scenes of this. Like, just YouTube, like
YouTube
Nicole Kidman, Emerald City, and you'll see her ridiculous haircut, her even more ridiculous dresses. Like, we'll get into her in spoilers, but like, yeah. So don't
bother about it. But hey, listen on to the spoiler section because
before we do, the most important segment.
Oh yes, I almost forgot.
I've been waiting for this, mate. Hey,
what?
Let's look at this film's poster. Emerald City. So,
holy fucking shit!
This is the 7th movie of all 7 posters. This is easily the best.
Holy crap!
By best I mean worst, because it's just so go into Google. Just Google Emerald City film poster, and it's the one where the 4 of them are just like standing like a DVD cover in front of the Opera House.
That is gross, dude.
It's so gross.
But it's also hilariously awesome.
Like, it's...
Oh my God.
So, like, you got Nicole Kidman, just, like, look... Like, they're all... It's so funny, because Nicole Kidman looks so serious. Then you got... What's his name? Colin? Like, the guy?
Yeah.
Like, he's just, like... He looks a little bit confused. The wife looks, like, really happy. She's just, like...
She's
the
so
only one happy to be in the
weird.
poster, and like the guy, what's his name, Mike, whatever it was?
Mike, yeah.
He looks like coked up. Oh, by the way, side note, every character in this film is coked up.
I swear to you, but most likely.
Like, genuinely, I want to know the production stories for this film. I reckon this is a fucked up film they made. Like, you know what I mean?
don't know. I'd like to point out on this poster though that this film is rated M. In the States, it's probably something equivalent to what is it? Teen? Like I think they call it teen.
Like
T for teen. I don't know. It's for me, it's somewhere between the M and the MA rating, and it doesn't know where it is because the tone just keeps changing. You know what I mean?
F-bombs? I don't think so.
I'm pretty sure that.
Oh, there are?
I feel like he talks.
There's
a monologue in there that is talking about some very sexually explicit material.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
but
I don't know.
Swear that often in the movie. In all truth, is the C-bomb dropped?
No.
Think so.
No.
I don't remember if it was.
No.
So, like, for an Australian film not to have the Z-bomb, that's weird. Like,
I swear to God, they all look like they've got fake tans in this photo too.
They do.
But it's not even good fake tan. It's like when they go orange, like the Oompa Loompas from the Gene Wilder Willy Wonka. Yeah.
Also, it's like really badly photoshopped. Like they could not look less in front of the Sydney Opera House. By the way, random side note, is that property, the office that the woman has, the producer? Is that a real place in Sydney? You know, like the female producer has that. Like,
I don't think so. It looks like they put up.
It's like right in front of the Opera House.
Yeah, it looks like they put up a piece of glass and like a roof and like
'Cause it
some
looks as though
windows.
it's where Luna Park is, and I'm like,
Yeah, it looks like they've just like built a little set somewhere.
Yeah,
that's
like-
like a temporary set.
yeah,
Back to this poster
yeah,
though.
right, close to right.
I just noticed something quite hilarious.
Yeah.
You'll notice that around Mike there is a hand. There's two hands. Whose hands are they? You think it's Nicole Kidman's
Oh my
hands,
God.
and it's bad. Like, so for me, that's so badly photoshopped. It looks like these four people
But
aren't.
it hasn't got a red sleeve.
No.
on the hand on his shoulder.
No.
That one is Nicole. But even then, it's like a dark purple, whereas her dress is like red.
Dude, I think it looks like these four pictures are four separate pictures, and they haven't even been in the same studio.
Oh my God!
And they've just made it look like that's her arm, but it's not.
It's not.
She'd have a weirdly disjointed
What?
arm if that was her
It's
actual
so
arm.
weird.
That is awful.
Oh my God! I didn't even notice that. What?
What a bad title
Bad
to it. In the
movie,
term,
bad
in the terms
poster.
of like just the font
Even
and the
font, it
color.
looks so cheap,
Oh,
doesn't it? Like,
yuck! Ew! What's the slogan there? Or is it just the actors' names? I can't see.
I don't even know. Like, I don't
Is
even
it
care.
worth-
That's the thing. This movie, like, good luck finding it at your DVD store. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this poster is like the most like low res poster we've had in the show, and like, I don't even care what the slogan is. You know what I mean? Like,
1988. This film came out. Does it feel like a late 80s film?
it's 30 years old. This film, like. Oh yeah, is this like 80s? The way Nicole Kidman is dressed is the most 80s thing you'll ever see. The fact that she's like in fitness gear.
For sure, but when you compare to other films that are from this period in time, this film is way off the mark, is my point.
Oh my goodness, so much. Like egregiously so. Like
But that being said, let's
Alright.
get into spoilers, nothing but spoilers, nothing but spoilers, classic movie banter. With spoilers.
it's spoiler time.
Let's go.
Oh my gosh. Nicole Kidman. So
Right.
So when you first meet her, I literally wrote down like, "Holy shit!" Because like I generally didn't recognize her when I first saw her. Because they're at the ball and like she walks down and says, "By the way, like if you're even if you want to watch the movie, like keep listening to the spoiler section. Like we're gonna spoil nothing in the movie for you. Like there's nothing exciting worth spoiling. So like stick around. Like don't normally scrub over this part." So like when you first meet Nicole Kidman, like she's walking down those stairs and she's in the most ugly orange dress you could possibly imagine. Like this tight orange dress. She's got the most frilly 80s hair you could possibly think of. And she like talks in this really high pitched voice. Like she's really high spoken in this. And she starts talking to him and you hear him think like, "Hey, she's the most beautiful woman in the world. I just want to sleep with her." And then she's like, "This writer, he's so old and I think he wants to sleep with me, but you know what? I'm going to do it anyway." Like, there's just no agency whatsoever. And she's like, "He's a writer, he's the greatest in the world." And like, oh, Nicole Kidman, she's a mixed bag in this.
Look, yeah. I knew it was her straight away. I was like, that's Nicole Kidman. But I was expecting her to be in this film because I knew she was the only one I really knew that was in this film. Mm-hmm. But yeah, she looks pretty fucking ridiculous when she rocks up. It's
so stupid.
Yeah. In terms of the plot, like again, there's nothing I really want to really get into in terms of spoilers.
No,
there's nothing I feel like that's worth
you know
going
what, though?
into.
Actually, no, I want to talk about the adultery stuff in here because, like,
yeah, sure.
Because, like, for the whole film, like, you know, he's flirting with Nicole Kidman and, you know, she's dating. Oh, by the way, why the hell is Nicole Kidman with Mike? Like, why? Like,
oh, I thought she acted it very well in the sense that it was a means to the end, kind of for a moment, for the moment, but also it was kind of to humor him, and she kind of got some enjoyment out of it. Maybe
she didn't do it for the money because as soon as they get the nice property, like in Curability. Like, she's just like, "I don't like it here." And she's like, "You want to go back to the shack?" And she's like, "Maybe." And then he's like, "Well, too bad. Like, you know, too bad. You got to deal with this." She's just constantly miserable. And then, like, she's doing the exercise. Like, what does she do? Like,
I'm not sure. It's because she always, like, comments on film. Like, because she says she wants to be a writer, I believe, at the start.
Yeah, she does. That's
such as
right.
Colin.
Yeah.
And then I was questioning how genuine that really was because it seemed like she just wanted to sleep with Colin at the start. Which was then ended up being the case.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know what she does. She exercises and hangs out with Mike.
And like, I feel like, and the camera's just doing shots of her ass, so she's just bending over in an exercise gear, and I'm like, what are you doing? It's come on. It's like, I just wasn't having any of it, to be honest with you. Like, anyway, so like the point is that he wants to sleep with her and cheat on his wife and that kind of stuff. I mean, that's why the kids are there in the first place. So
yes.
So, like, you feel guilty. And that's what happens, because when he finally sleeps with her, like, here's a weird scene where he hallucinates and, like, his family's, like, reacting to him doing it.
Which is interesting because that's the first time for him that he actually questions it, in the sense of he questions how it would affect his kids. Which he doesn't think about the kids the whole film.
No. He forgets his daughter's age at one point in the
Does
movie.
he?
Yeah. Because his daughter has this weird arc where she's like a rebel and that kind of stuff. And she's getting hit on like a 20-year-old.
Yeah, that's tourist. Right. Yeah, she goes to that party and they're
like,
like, oh, wasn't there drug peddlers at that party? I'm like, this girl's 12. Like again, the tone is just all over the place. What is this?
What
is this contraption? What is this?
What is this film?
What is this nonsense happening here?
Put this on a celluloid.
I thought I was going to watch The Wizard of Oz.
There's no scarecrow in this.
Ha ha ha! Ho ho ho!
Oh, I would have loved it if this film just like segued seamlessly into The Wizard of Oz.
Holy shit! What if this film? Okay, this makes it a million times better because obviously Sydney's growing during this film and it's like becoming this extravagant land. What if Emerald City is the prequel to The Wizard of Oz? Okay. And when Dorothy gets caught up in the twister, she's transported into the distant future to Emerald City, aka Sydney, to the land of Oz, Australia, in, let's say, a century from now.
Oh.
So she goes down the yellow brick road. She encounters the Scarecrow, who is actually a victim of severe, let's say, errors in plastic surgery. So they bumble along together. She then meets the Tin Man, who is a cyborg. Who is trying to extend his life. They then meet the Lion, who used to be a male human, but had an attraction for large cats. So he transitioned to a lion. Yeah. And then they come across the Wicked Witch of the West, who is someone who has suffered severe
100-year-old Julia Gillard.
Yeah, but also she suffered severe radiation poisoning from a nuclear disaster that happened, and now she has magic powers.
So definitely 100-year-old Julia Gillard.
Yeah. So then there's flying monkeys as well. The flying monkeys the monkeys are starting to develop. They're starting to become.
So it's the apes in this.
Exactly. So that and she leads them. And then Wizard of Oz, and then the Emerald City is just where all of us capitalist humans live.
It's like Hunger Games almost. Like it's like
almost
District 1 of it. You know?
Yeah, and then she clicks her ruby heels, which are the time machine.
Yeah,
the ruby slippers.
Yeah,
it goes back in time, back to Kansas, in back in the days where it was black and white.
Holy dude, this film that you've just described is like a billion times better than what we just watched.
I felt like this is the first part of this show that we both sat up and like had this light in our eyes of that could be fucking awesome.
That could be. Like, are you kidding me? I would love to see like a real. I would love to see an Australian adaptation of The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah,
you know, like a real Aussie thing of it. You know what I mean? Like,
so there you go. Watch this film and then watch The Wizard of Oz after it with that little information I just told you.
Yeah, just jump cut from like Dorothy in Kansas going whoa, and then like the dad's like, come on kids, we're moving to Sydney, and then Dorothy just
that awful music and that awful montage of those opening credits. I can't even do it. It's so awful,
it's
dude.
It's like a woodwind kind of thing, and like I know, and then Dorothy's house just crashes into theirs, and she's like, Toto, yes. What's this? This love is a shrimp. This is a Barbie. She's like, we don't have that in Kansas. Do you know where I can go home?
Well, what's the yellow brick road then?
Oh, fuck if I know. I don't know. Like,
maybe that's like the M1, and it's made out of gold bricks because like Australia turns out is a gold mine. The in inner regions of Australia.
It's like Eureka Stockade all over again.
Yeah, and so like we're shitting gold. We're building our highways out of gold, and we've gone back to
gold is now invaluable. It's more valuable than concrete, which is why we're using it now.
This film's alluding to the fact that Colin's one of the first people that starts becoming a bit more nationalist. He doesn't. Australia starts to become more of a nation. It doesn't really expand into the international community in years to come, and then so we're this rich nation that has all of these resources, and we're all sitting in the literal Emerald City singing ha 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 ho 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 and a couple of tradidas. That's how we da 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 in the merry old land of Australia, Sydney.
Oh my god, mate, you just sold a way better movie. That's like another thing I have like really against this film. It's so cynicistic about Australia, about Australian entertainment. Like, when they're like having a conversation and he's like, you know, our history is too young and the history that we already have is too fucking boring, and like they're always, and like, you know, the characters are just like, you know, there's no Australian stories worth telling and all that stuff. Like Mike, when he like pitched all this to America, he's like, I'd rather watch stuff about lesbian nuns than Aussie stories. I'm like, shut up. You know what I mean?
and then they kept bringing up the lesbian nun thing as well, like because obviously it was
funny thinking of lesbian nuns. It's like, and also they like try and make poke a stick at American censorship, saying, well, you know, one of them can't be lesbian, while the other one has just like thoughts of it. It's like, what are you trying to say?
Yeah, I don't know.
I just don't know.
I don't know.
I just don't know. There are some good lines though. I will give it that. I love how they call Sydney New York without the intelligence. I love, you know what, this film is very tailored for you and me because we live in Sydney, and so we get a lot of these inside jokes because like it's set in Sydney.
But again, it's not again, like it's
the city's much cleaner than what it is today.
Yeah, I also feel like you can't really get into this film because of that reason, you know, like if you weren't from Sydney, you wouldn't really understand the references that it keeps, that a lot of its humor, let's say, requires. It's required knowledge to watch this film, I guess.
Oh, it really is. Like, I don't know. There's just random things that I just didn't believe at all in this film. Like when, you know, the woman the wife, Helen, whatever her name is trying to pitch the book and that kind of stuff to a publisher, and he's like, we're not going to publish this. This is written by an Indigenous person. And then like, Mike just randomly picks up the phone and just like pretends to be like some Black Rights Nation group, and then it like hard cuts like to like a moment later where like she comes home with flowers going, my book got published, and like the husband doesn't think to mention it. You're just like, what are you doing? Oh yeah, sorry, I completely lost my train of thought before. I never finished my Nicole Kidman thing with the adultery arc.
Yes, of course.
All the way back to that. Okay, so he finally like sleeps with Nicole Kidman, and like, you know, he can't pull through the act, and then the only twist I thought in this film that I thought was quite good was when the wife comes back from her business trip and we hear her thoughts, and she cheated while she was overseas.
I totally agree with that. And it was the one time that the narration was actually, I guess it actually was worth it.
Yeah, it was worth it. It didn't justify having it around for the whole film.
No.
But I remember like, I literally thought, right, because it's like almost at the very end of the film and you're just like, oh, and I'm like, I was not invested in the characters and the story about any of this, but it generally did make me for the first time go like, oh no. Oh. Yeah. And I felt sorry, because like the husband learnt a lesson, but she didn't. And I'm just like, what are you doing?
I thought that should have been the last scene of the film as well.
Oh yeah, that would have been perfect, because that's the second last scene. The real last scene is just them awkwardly at the party again. And it's awkward, and like they're all chatting and they're all thinking about each other in their heads, and they're all like, oh man, fuck that couple. Oh yeah, fuck that couple. And then they both walk out of the party and there's like an awkward freeze frame.
Oh, that awful freeze frame that goes into the credits. Oh god.
So bad.
Oh no.
Oh no, get me out of here. And then that ugly green font of a credit just like starts rolling.
You can hardly read it because you're having an epileptic fit as you're trying to read this thing because it's so awful. Oh my god.
Bad. But yeah, I reckon the film would have been so much stronger if it finished on that second last scene. Like,
agreed.
What a waste. What an absolute waste. Oh, but yeah. I don't know. Like, what else happened in this movie? Oh yeah, I love when they also when he goes to grab Nicole Kidman and they go to like the hotel, hostel, or whatever it is, and they're trying to think of all these hotels in Sydney. He's like, oh, do we go to a hotel on this street or a hotel on that street? And then it cuts like a sign that's like a hotel and it's like $31 for a double bed.
Yes.
It's just like, What are you doing? It's just like, one, because it's that cheap because it's back in the 80s, and two, like that accommodation city just doesn't happen anymore.
No.
God, no.
No.
Look at how expensive the city is these days. Like,
yeah.
Oh, they're all just. Oh, and like they're all parking on. That's another thing.
They're all parking, mounting the curb to park.
They're all mounting the curb to park, and like there are no parking meters anywhere. I'm like, oh, where's this Sydney? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I love how there's like inside jokes in suburbs where he's like, oh, you'll be like riding in Glebe if you don't do it soon. Like,
yeah. There's
and
little.
I'm like, oh, I get that joke because I'm a local, but like.
If you weren't a local, you just wouldn't know, I guess. You just
wouldn't get, so we get those jokes. I'll tell you what, even if you do get those jokes, it doesn't make the film better.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't do it for me. Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah.
And also, like, when she finally dropped the title, the old lady producer, when she's like, she goes
this
that big rant.
Emerald City
of Oz, the Emerald City. It's like, oh, shut the fuck up. It's like,
yes.
It's like, we get it. We get why you, like,
again,
everyone comes to Sydney to make money, but they end up just being dicks.
Again, that's that's another, moment where the film's just telling you, it's ramming it down your throat, like what to think, what to feel, and it's just, it doesn't give you any room to breathe. I feel this film,
There was a really intelligent moment that I do want to talk about. It's my favorite line in the movie. I think this is a recurring segment we have where we just talk about our favorite lines. But mine from the movie was like one at the end where I forget who says. I think it's it might be the main guy where he says where he's arguing why Australian stories are told, and he's like, we need to have stories about us, Australians, with voices that sound like us. Otherwise, we'll think that the only stories happen overseas. And I really like that. I thought that was an excellent line. How because this film does this film does explore Australian identity, and how how there's this weird, even today in Australia, there's this culture where if you want to make it big, you can't do it in Australia. If you want to make it big globally, you have to go to America or you have to go to the UK. Like, you have to go, like, you can't be big globally in Australia. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Like, all the successful actors, it's because they went to America. Or because of our successful businessmen, like Murdoch and that kind of stuff, because he expanded globally and he now resides over there. You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
The real big movers of the world, like, who are Australian, there's this always sense that it's not going to be in Australia. It's going to be overseas. And this film addresses that, where it's like, with our storytelling, and it's relevant because these days, there's very low funding from the government into Australian film and in the arts in general. Very, very low funding. And this film makes the argument that, like, if we keep doing this where we don't tell these Australian stories, even as shit as this Australian story is, we're going to think that, like, nothing happens. And we're just going to have a complete loss of faith in our own culture. And I thought that was excellent. Sorry, I just want this, like, really, like nationalistic rant. I'm like, yeah, man, just straight this down.
No, Nathan, you do. If the film affected you in that way, like, I'm glad.
It struck a chord. It actually did strike a chord. And I remember thinking, because I was just like, oh, I was just hating this. Well, I wasn't hating this film, but I was just like, just unenthused about this film for a lot of it. And then, like, that line drops, and I'm like, oh, here we go. Here's the gold stuff. And, like, but then it was replaced by, like,
yes.
Just something stupid again.
Yes. Yeah, nothing personally, unfortunately. Just nothing really hits home because nothing for me really sticks. No. Yeah.
Also, you know what I love? That second last scene where
No,
you mentioned this before, where the wife reveals to the audience that she cheated on him. I thought that would have been an even more powerful last scene because with the main guy's character arc, because
of what happens with the driver.
Yeah. He's a fan.
Yeah.
And he's genuinely moved.
And he remembers specific lines and moments from this man's, work.
Yeah.
And it's a nice moment of, like, yeah, it does mean something. Yeah, that was a nice moment, I agree. And so, yeah, I was like, that's the end of the film. And then we went into this awful party scene. Yeah.
I don't know why they edited that in. I think this might be the worst edited movie I've ever seen.
Really?
Maybe.
Interesting. Yeah.
Maybe. It's definitely up there as some of the worst editing I've seen. What's the worst edited film you've ever seen?
Oh.
Don't say The Room.
Oh, that's the first thing that came to my mind. But that's...
I would watch Room over this. I would easily...
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I would easily watch The Room.
I'd watch The Room over a lot of other films, to be honest. Yeah, because that's just one of those cases where it's so bad that it's incredible.
This one isn't so bad that it's good.
No.
Because it has its little bright spots and you're like, oh, you're just struggling, mate. It's just out of your misery. Just,
Yeah. So I feel like now is a great time to ponder over which characters should have kissed.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Ooh, saucy. I love this thing. Ooh.
There was one moment, the only moment I thought in the film that there was a kiss was going to happen, then it didn't, was the scene at a party halfway through the film with Mike and the producer Elaine.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. Yeah,
When
she comes over really drunk and she's
and he's trying to chat her up to try and get ahead and whatnot. And the way she looked at Mike in that scene, I was like, oh.
Here we go.
Oh.
That did get my attention.
Yeah, and he looked like he was like, well, means to an end. And I was like, oh gosh, here we go. They're going to leave this party together, I guess.
Do it. Kiss. Just like leaning into the screen, just like, come on.
I was kind of thinking the opposite. I was like, oh, please don't. Like, please, like.
Nah, I would have given this one 5 stars if it happened. like, that alone, I would have been like,
just
yes.
making out at this party and.
Like 180 it, just like, great. I'm happy with it. Also, do you notice at the party there's like a weird photographer who's taking like 1,000 photos at once, but it's like in the 80s, so has to keep changing the film. And
yes.
and he's standing way too close to Nicole Kidman.
Yes,
and he's just got like 5 cameras around his neck. Do you remember that?
Yes,
It's
I did.
so
Yeah.
random and it's so stupid. Who should have kissed? I reckon. The husband and wife should kiss more. Because, like, there's that weird sex scene where, like... which is awkward. I reckon they should... Like, their smooches don't feel that lovey. You know what I mean? Which is probably why they were thinking about adultery. They should have just had... You know what? They should have just had... her come back home. She got the book deal. And rather than him be a dick and be all cynical, he should just, like, plant one on her right then and there.
I'm glad they don't, though. I'm glad they don't. They don't ever really reconcile towards the end of this. I mean, we have that reveal that because he tries... We have that reveal that she has cheated on him.
Yeah.
And I kind of like it that it's left at that. And then they go to that party and...
Well, they're still together.
Yeah, they're still together.
You know who should have kissed? The wife of Nicole Kidman.
Sure.
They definitely should have
Why
kissed.
not? Yeah.
Because they bitch about each other, like, at the start of the film, but then it's kind of ignored. That thread's never really resolved.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Yeah. I reckon they should just made up and just been like, you know what? Let's stick together, you know?
Oh.
So that's who should have kissed.
Who should have kissed?
Another big thing I want to talk about. Let's talk about this title.
The
title talk. Emerald City. What a point. Like, why? Like,
okay, well, let's be logical about this.
Who calls Sydney Emerald City?
Was there an Emerald City? No. I'd agree with that.
Emeralds. I don't think anyone was wearing an emerald on their jewelry.
No.
The city didn't have a green tinge to it.
No.
The title was dropped, but in a very egregious way. No, and like even
it's
even
not
the
a
metaphor.
Good. Okay, okay. Next question: what would we title this film?
For
something else apart from Emerald City.
Oh my god! Like this, like I don't know, like Australian screenwriter struggles. The movie, like
the tale of the tale of a writer, a dickhead producer. And
how about Nicole Kidman almost gets laid?
Oh. Okay. I guess.
You could come up with better.
Like, there's nothing... Again, like, what do you call this?
I don't know what to exclamate the movie with, because there's no plot. It's just
Australia,
about him trying to write a story.
Yeah.
Australian stories. They're worth
it. Yeah, sure. Nationalism versus capitalism. Which one would you choose?
Sydney versus Melbourne. We're only going to show Sydney in this one. That's like, you only see Melbourne for like 3 seconds.
Perhaps in a few years there'll be a sequel, and we'll go and explore the what would we call Melbourne, Kansas?
If it's Emerald City, yeah. You know what? Yeah, I was gonna go over the different gem. I was gonna be like Opal City or something like that. We should be called Opal City because we have Opal cards. Like, that's our transport thing.
Sure, that works.
Yeah, if you're in Sydney, so if you're in London, you use an Oyster card for your transport.
Is it called an Oyster card?
Yeah, it's called an Oyster card.
Cool.
In London. It's very cool. In New York, you just got, what's it called? The subway pass or something like that? It's like a My Pass or something like that.
I'm not sure what
Sydney,
it's called.
they're like Opal. They're like Opal. That's what this film should have been called, Opal City, just to foreshadow the automatic card transport that the city was going to have.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, you don't really see that much public transport in this film.
No, you don't. I think there's one shot of a tram, maybe, from memory.
You can see the train going across the Harbour Bridge, but like...
True, yes.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
So everyone drives. Everyone drives in Sydney.
I guess 88, people had cars.
Man. I would be very interested to see what the city was like back in 88.
Same, yeah. Same.
Yeah, I'm glad I got to see the monorail before they tore it down.
For sure.
I feel like this city was different back in '88. Like an interesting different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to know. Yeah.
Yeah, but there you go.
I want to know.
Now, Brenton.
Nathan.
Critics.
What are they saying?
I have the best news for this film.
Sure. Tell me.
So.
Oh no. Oh
have a guess
no.
about what's about to happen. So like,
does this film exist on Rotten Tomatoes?
you're in the right direction. You're almost on the money. So like, part of the reason we started this podcast obviously is because critics for a lot of the time they diverge on your thoughts. I mean, sometimes you find your right critic. Hopefully, Brenton and me, who you agree with. And,
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Ooh! Hoping for the best. But yeah. So you look for anyway. So we start this podcast because we trust our opinions over critics. So that's why we go to Rotten Tomatoes every week. We want to see what our thoughts are like versus professional critics and audience members, which we are both neither of. And so I went onto Rotten Tomatoes for Emerald City. Now, so disclaimer, they made this into a TV show. Do you know this?
I saw when I looked it up.
They made
there
it
was
into
a TV
season.
show.
They made it into a season of television. One season. It got cancelled because it was terrible. And that film on Rotten Tomatoes. Sorry. And so that was terrible. Emerald City, the film on Rotten Tomatoes, it doesn't actually have a tomato meter. Because only one critic wrote a review on Emerald City, the film.
Do we have this review, Nathan?
We have. Oh boy, do we! So we have one critic review and 2 audience reviews.
Lay them on the audience. Let's go.
For this, that's the thing. This film isn't in Australia. This film is not obscure. This is one of the most of all of Australian film canon. Like Emerald City is like I don't know if this is right, but from just word of mouth, people talk about Two Hands. They talk about Emerald City. They talk about Noise. Like these old great Australian films. They talk about Mad Max and all that kind of stuff.
Yes,
So these films, the post Australian explosion of the 70s, these the milestone ones. So this is not that obscure, but just to prove how still obscure it is, there's only 3 reviews. So I'll give you the one. So anyway, so from these 3 reviews, the average audience score is 30%.
Ouch!
Ooh.
Oof.
Ooh.
Oh no! Oh
Run.
no!
Crikey! This film is got a low score.
30%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with that. I probably will give it a 30% if anything. We don't rate. We don't number films.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
I
It's
don't
not our
know.
job.
I feel like that might be a bit low, but
Yeah.
Sure.
All right. So the one critic, it's from Urban Cinema. It's from Urban Cinephile Critics. That's the name of the magazine. And the critic wrote, "This was the year of living successfully for Nicole, who starred in Dead Calm immediately after Emerald City and launched her international career." So I think what this critic is trying to say, we don't get the critic name, is that thank God Nicole Kidman starred in Dead Calm after this film, because that's the film that made people immediately forget she did this movie and actually became who she is today.
Oh dear.
Oh my God. It's like when Michael B. Jordan in 2015, the actor,
Yes.
starred in Fantastic Four.
Fan Four Stick, of course. Yeah, that classic film. That was so good.
Yes, that landmark of a film in the superhero genre. And, obviously, as critically panned as you can do. But that same year made Creed, which we haven't seen. It's in our Rocky series, which means we're very excited because we're going to be seeing it, hopefully.
Hopefully, yes.
Yeah, but
Yes.
fingers crossed. We're in Emerald City. And no one mentioned Fantastic Four to Michael B. Jordan. They only talk about Creed and how wonderful he was in it. So I feel like Nicole Kidman did what he did. She survived the storm. I feel like that happens every year. I feel like every year in film, there's an actor who makes absolute dog shit of a movie, but then also, I've got an example. But then, months later, thank God, comes out with a film that is critically acclaimed and their career survives. Another example, Eddie Redmayne, who was in what's that Wachowski film? Jupiter Ascending.
Jupiter Ascending.
He was in Jupiter Ascending, and he.
I'm just gonna do something.
Yeah.
And I'm very sorry if I just in advance turn your speakers down.
Yeah.
Go! If you don't know, please go and watch the YouTube clip of Eddie Redmayne screaming "Go" from Jupiter Ascending.
That again.
Go!
I love it. I love it so much.
It's terrifying. It's truly.
But yeah,
awful.
he did that, and then like immediately afterwards, he did the thing he won the Oscar for, the Theory of Everything.
No, it was the year after. It was the Danish Girl.
Danish
that
Girl,
he still got a nomination for.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and
which
so,
I haven't seen that film either. But
no, I don't want to see Eddie Redmayne prance around in a dress. Like, I don't know. Like, there's better transgender films. Like,
I don't know.
I don't know. I would actually no. I take that back. I do want to see it for Alicia Vikander because she did win the Oscar for it.
She did.
No,
yes.
she didn't.
No, she did. She won Best Supporting Actress for The Danish Girl. It wasn't for Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Because that came out, I think, that year as well.
No,
she had a great year
for her.
Vikander.
But so I probably would watch it for her because she is like crazy talented. Except for Tomb Raider. Sorry,
I haven't seen Tomb Raider, so I can't judge. But it didn't look too good.
So I think that's what this critic meant with Nicole. Like, you know, she's now one of those actors who every year somehow get away with it. 2 audience reviews. One is from Adam T, who gave it 3 stars, and one is from Slightly L, who gave it 1.5 stars. So Adam T, who gave it 3 stars, he wrote a fair bit. He wrote, and I quote, "A credible writer loves one city for another in search of better things and becomes disillusioned with the level of opportunism at the expense of artistic integrity." Crikey, this guy sounds smart. His cliquey socialite wife, however, has the opposite experience and seems to settle into her new city a bit too comfortably. This is based on a David Williamson play, which is most probably autobiographical, with actors John Hargreaves and Robin Nevin on board. The script comes alive with energy and verve. So it's basically just a synopsis, and then he said it's got energy and verve.
Which it does. It does. They bring that dialogue to life with energy and verve.
Yeah, doesn't make it good. Sorry, Adam. Yeah. And then Slightly L, which definitely is not their real name. 1.5 stars. They only wrote 4 words. Dated. Comically so now. I don't know what that means. Comically so now.
Comically so now.
It said dated full stop. Comically so now. I know what it means, but I kind of like it.
So I think it means that the film is dated, but the comedy is
so now.
Is
it?
So that's, I think, so what do they give it, 1.5?
Yeah, 1.5 out of 5.
So the 1.5 is because the comedy is so now, I guess.
Yeah. I suppose. I mean, great.
So that's what the critics are saying?
That's what
Question
they're saying. I love that it only has 3. Oh, because normally, like, you know, all the other films we've done, like, you know, like Jurassic and, you know, like Mononoke and, like, all those, like, you know, like, they all have, like, hundreds on Rotten Tomatoes of reviews, and I have to, like, you know, right before the app, whittle it down to a couple of golden few. This one, we're literally scraping the battle for the 3 that just happened by luck to be on there. So, you know, if you guys actually do end up watching this film, make a Rotten Tomatoes account.
Yes, please.
Chuck some reviews up.
Maybe we will. I don't know. Like, maybe we will throw one up.
I feel like the point of us doing this is to combat Rotten Tomatoes. So if we're joining the club, if we
true, but you know,
there.
I want this film to have at least a percentage on the tomato meter. You know what I'm saying? Just so people know.
If you're literally just bored out of your brains, just go on the Rotten Tomatoes. Don't even watch the film. Just give it a 1 star. Don't give it no stars. Give it 1 star because, you know, I like Nicole Kidman.
I feel like now we're not achieving our goal. I feel like now we're encouraging people to go on Rotten Tomatoes and give fake scores.
Brenton, we've become the problem.
No! Classic movie banter.
So yeah, that was Emerald City.
Oh God.
I'm just done.
Yeah.
Thank God. Despite that we had Emerald City last week, we had West Side, and before...
despite the fact we had West Side last week, yeah.
And then we had Spellbound the week before, and it's just... Thank God Spellbound was, like, great. And, like...
Yeah, it's certainly made up for the fact that the last couple of weeks have been a bit...
They've just been shit.
Okay, well, what's worse? What's what would you recommend? West Side Story or Emerald City?
Oh, probably West Side.
Yeah?
Yeah, because you know what?
I still stand by that dancing scene in the school hall.
Sure, yeah.
That's like that's still stuck with me. Like, it's excellent. So yeah,
Okay.
definitely watch West Side. And then at least you get some good tunes in your head. Like this one, there's nothing. You just get the stupid fucking
get that
soundtrack.
awful
It's so
soundtrack.
bad. Oh my god!
good
Just go
lord.
on YouTube, look up clips of just how bad this soundtrack is. Like,
Terrible.
It's so bad.
But that was Emerald City.
That was Emerald City. So thank you for giving us a listen, and thank you for people who have like been writing reviews on iTunes, for giving us 5 stars. I get a kick out of reading these things. Like,
It's fantastic.
It's so cool.
It makes me feel warm and fuzzy on the inside.
Because it's weird thinking people were listening to us having a conversation.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah.
voluntarily. It's like, don't you have friends? Like, talk to them instead.
No, but any feedback is like really appreciated. For our show, and
so good. We've already used some of the feedback for these episodes.
sure.
So,
yeah,
we're learning. This is our first podcast, so yeah, and probably our last.
Time will tell. Yes,
So
but thank you for everything. Thank you for your support.
Tweet at us. Let us know what you're watching. It's always cool seeing you guys write stuff and all that. If you want to email us, it's all in the description. If you're watching this on YouTube or on your podcast app or on SoundCloud, we have a SoundCloud. So if you like listening to the podcast on that, change. Don't just go through your podcast. I've got on SoundCloud. Give us all the likes and comments you want, all that kind of stuff.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Tell people, if you have mates, you just don't know what to watch, say, hey, I know this podcast where 2 boys just chat about movies. Like, give it a listen. So
it would be so much appreciated.
Yeah, we would like, Brenton, I'm sure, would probably come around to your house and, he'd show you the Emerald City. Yeah. Every recommendation, if you fire your friends to Sydney, we'll show them the Emerald City. And all the joys of Sydney.
Oh, the joys of the Emerald City.
That's the thing. I love Sydney with all my heart, but like I've had a couple of mates like visit me since I moved here. And like it's kind of like the same stuff, and it kind of gets like you show them the Opera House, you show them the Harbour Bridge, you take them to Luna Park, you go to the zoo, maybe you go up Sydney Tower if you want to view. Go to Newtown, have some drinks. Like, it's not like the Gold Coast where there are theme parks and where there are beaches, but then you also got the hinterland. Like, Sydney's way bigger, so it kind of gets repetitive after a while.
Yeah.
Still love it though, but like,
Sydney's great. It's very districted, so like everywhere you go, the areas are very distinct. So
100%.
Yeah, so there's lots to explore.
So please don't judge Sydney by Emerald City.
No, please don't.
It's changed. It's changed a lot since 1988.
No. But yeah, that's Emerald City. So we'll see what happens next week. Hopefully we get some more free burgers. That'd be nice.
Oh my god, I'm still just in love with that. Free food, just what a gem.
And hey, even if we don't, we'll still be here.
Yeah, we ain't going anywhere.
Yeah, we ain't going anywhere.
I'm not letting you leave my house, Brenton.
Oh no!
No!
See you next week, guys.
Bye.
Laters.